white cast. So the black filmmakers, some of them will turn around and make a movie with an all black cast. And this is a mistake because your art suffers when you make a movie out of spite. And trust me, I know a lot about spite. I do a lot of stuff out of spite. You know what I mean? Spite is a motivator for me. There's a lot of things I do just because of spite. Just because someone may get on your nerves and you just want to spite them, or spite a group of people who are just idiot assholes. But don't make a movie out of spite. And The Wiz was made out of spite. Now, I like The Wizard of Oz. I still like it. I've seen The Wizard of Oz. I haven't watched the whole movie because one thing I noticed about The Wizard of Oz that I didn't really pay attention to when I was younger, but The Wizard of Oz is the music is pretty corny and it's irritating. The main song is okay. The Follow the Yellow Brick Road, that's all right. But some of these songs that they sing in The Wizard of Oz are annoying as hell. It's like, oh man, come on, stop it. Munchkins, the Wizard. I tell you what would make a great movie. If you take The Wiz and The Wizard of Oz, you take the soundtrack from The Wiz and smack that on the Wizard of Oz. You take Richard Pryor's character, the wizard, and put that in The Wizard of Oz, and Michael Jackson's Scarecrow, and then you got a great movie. Then you'll have a great movie. Because The Wiz is a piece of junk, man. It didn't hold up. I mean, I was a big Michael Jackson fan, so his song "You Can't Win" in the Wiz is great. Richard Pryor's great in The Wiz as the wizard, and Ease on Down the Road is great. But the soundtrack to The Wiz is fantastic. The soundtrack to The Wizard of Oz, it sucks except for maybe one or two songs. So you smack that soundtrack from The Wiz onto The Wizard of Oz. Cut out the some of you computer nerds can do this. Take that Wizard of Oz. Take Richard Pryor's wizard. Richard Pryor done the best wizard. That Wizard of, I don't know the actor's name in The Wizard of Oz, but that wizard was very corny. You know what I'm saying? And he was annoying. So put that soundtrack over there and take the Michael Jackson Scarecrow and the Richard Pryor Wizard, put that in there, and then you have a great movie. So anyway, I thought of that because I just seen The Wiz here as recently, and I was like, this movie was made out of spite. So I want to tell, if any black filmmakers ever listen to this podcast, stop making movies out of spite, please. It doesn't really do you any good. I mean, you can see that any movie that's made that has an all black cast is made out of spite, because I don't know where you can go besides like Harlem or somewhere. You know what I'm saying? Inner city Detroit or Cleveland, Atlanta, where it's just the whole neighborhood is all black people. Most big cities, it's a mix of people. There's black, there's white, there's Latino people living there. There's even, some Asians in a lot of places, so making a movie where there's an all black cast, just out of spite because white people have made all these movies where it's an all white cast, and especially a show where it's an all white cast and it's made right in the middle of New York City, which is nonsensical to have a show where it's all white people on the show, because in the middle of New York City you're going to run into a plethora of different cultures, different skin colors and backgrounds. It's just not going to be all white people anywhere you go. So, but black people, when you see that TV show that has all white people, don't go and make you, out of spite, a TV show with all black people, because you're not concentrating on the storyline and the writing of the show. Then all you're doing is putting together a show out of spite and putting all black actors in it out of spite for the shows and movies that the white people have done with all white people in it. Don't do that. Be realistic with your shows as close as you can. The only part that should be fake is when someone has like superpowers, or they can kick everyone's ass, or stuff like that. You know what I mean? But there's no neighborhood that I know of. And like I said, I was a truck driver for 22 years. So I've traveled around this great country, and every big city seems about the same to me. I know a lot of people, they like to rep their city like, I'm from the ATL, I'm from C-Town, C-Bus, or LA, or, Detroit, or NYC. You know what? It's a big city with a lot of people. It ain't much different, okay? And you don't own the deed to the land. I don't know why y'all are so enthusiastically repping your city like it's like you own the place. You're just born there. It's not even up to you. Your parents moved there for whatever reasons. Maybe their parents moved there and they just never left that place. But if you grew up in Charlotte or Chicago, who cares? I don't know why you were so proud of it. When I was a kid, we had a buddy. We had a buddy who moved to Springfield area, Springfield, Ohio. He was from Cleveland, and he repped Cleveland so tough. He used to talk about C-Town and his gang that he was in, and he wore a Browns jacket. And I was thinking, who cares, man? I don't care that you're from Cleveland. And we used to get these thugs come here from Dayton, Ohio, and act like they're so tough because we're from Dayton. And I was thinking, that doesn't mean a damn thing. You know what I mean? I mean, you're not any tougher of a human being because you're from this place or that place. Who you are is who you are as an individual. And if you don't own any land in this place, what do you care for? You're so tied to it that you gotta represent, you gotta defend the place. Silly. But excuse me. But anyway, I said all that. Got a little sidetracked, I know. But I said all that to say, if you are a young filmmaker, production manager on a TV show, stop making shows out of spite, man. Because they're not going to be quality. Okay? I got a problem with our society being so politically correct. And it causes an issue with terms. And by terms, I mean, remember when the term bum used to be acceptable? Remember when you could call somebody a bum and that wasn't a problem? Now you can't call a guy a bum anymore. I'm talking about a real actual bum on the street, like a homeless person who's, all dirty and everything, dressed in dirty clothes and all tattered looking, nappy hair, whatever, you can't call them a bum anymore. I mean, I'm not saying you should call a bum to their face, but I'm saying if you're talking to someone else and you mention that that's a bum, people will be mad at you. They'll not accept. They won't like it that you've called someone a bum. And I'm just saying that we get all bent out of shape about terms. The word bum used to be acceptable. You used to be able to call a guy or a person, doesn't matter if it's a guy or a woman, a bum, if they're just, a homeless person. And then somewhere along the line, bum became offensive. And words just become offensive after a while. It's time. After a while, you can't say bum anymore. It's like the word retarded. Now, the word retarded is an actual medical term for a person who is now referred to as mentally challenged, which that's fine, but retarded should not be offensive. Okay, it is an actual medical term describing where someone's brain is operating, the level that it is operating at. It describes it. That person is retarded. But I think we got off with the word retarded. I think the problem is people started calling people who are not retarded when they wanted to make fun of them. And so therefore it became offensive to be called retarded. So whenever you would say someone who is retarded was retarded, it would be frowned upon. But the word retarded actually is a medical term. So somewhere we're getting away from that. It became a crack to say someone's retarded and then the word retarded has been used as retard. People say retard to someone, like I said, again, someone who is not retarded, just a person who is an idiot or doing something stupid. Someone would call them a retard. And so you've taken that word away from its actual meaning. And now it's offensive. So you can't use retarded anymore, even in its clinical sense, the actual definition of the word. Which I don't care. I don't mind saying someone's mentally challenged who is mentally challenged. But pretty soon, if you call your buddy mentally challenged, that's going to be a term that's going to be taken away. They're going to be like, "Oh man, that's offensive." So terms get moved around. They get switched. We get tired of words as human beings, so it becomes offensive. Everything becomes offensive. I remember my older brother had a broken leg when we were kids, and my uncle called him a crippled creep. You crippled creep. Now, I don't even know if young people would know what crippled means anymore, but he had a broken leg, so he wasn't actually crippled. And that's where how people become offended, because someone uses the term on someone who it doesn't apply to, and trying to be humorous. So an actually crippled person would not appreciate you calling a person with a broken leg a crippled creep. But it was an unpolitically correct time in our society. And so, we moved past that. And everyone's offended very easily these days. Hence the name of this podcast. I've probably said something within the last 10 minutes that will be considered offensive. If not, then that's great. But this happens with me so often. So that's for those of you, if anyone's listening, hence the name of the podcast, probably offensive. Because these things come to my mind, I think I should talk about it. What better place to talk about it is on my podcast.